And with that, let me go ahead and introduce Jill Isenbarger, who's the Executive Director of the Stone Barn Center for Food and Agriculture, who will be telling you a little bit about today. Thank you all so much for coming.
Great to see everyone. So my name is Jill Isenbarger, and I'm the Executive Director of the Stone Barn Center for Food and Agriculture, and it's my great pleasure to welcome you today to the Stone Barn Center and to the New York Times Food Conference as we look toward an American food policy. So many of you here in this room understand, as we do, that the food we eat and how it is grown affects much of the world around us. The system that has brought us cheap and abundant food has many hidden costs: disease and an overtaxed healthcare system, climate change, environmental degradation, underpaid workers, and economic inequality. A system that triggers so many problems is surely broken. So here at Stone Barn Center, our mission is to create a healthy and sustainable food system, one that benefits us all. Good food grown well is powerful and essential to food systems change. That is why we here work on both the supply side and the demand side of food, on both how it is grown and how it is eaten. We encourage and train more people to practice resilient, sustainable agriculture, and we encourage and inspire more people to eat food grown this way. Our niche is at the intersection of supply and demand. Here at the farm, and often working with Blue Hill at Stone Barns, we bring together farmers and chefs and change makers who can help shape and give voice to a farm-driven diet, one that is based on resiliency and seasonality, on diversified farming, on local production and consumption, on healthy farm ecosystems. And this conference is a great example of that intersection. Before we dive into the day's session, I'd like to give you a brief glimpse of what we do here. And since we just had breakfast, I'm going to start with the demand side of our work, the joy of eating. One of the teas served this morning was milky oats tea, and I hope some of you tried it or will try it at the break. We grow milky oats here because it's a cover crop, and it fixes nutrients in our soil and allows our soil to rest and regenerate, so we don't have to use any synthetic fertilizers. Cover crops are critical to any sustainable farming system. Farmers enrich the soil by plowing cover crops back into the ground or letting them decompose in the fields. But in recent years, many American farmers have ignored cover crops because you can't sell them. In fact, so much of what we have now in the United States is a two-crop rotation, corn and soy. As our board chairman, Fred Kirschman, often likes to note, if more farmers would simply move to a three-crop rotation and include a cover crop, the soil's health and ability to hold water and stay in place and not erode would be greatly improved. So at Stone Barns, we're exploring ways that we can use up to 10% of a cover crop to generate revenue. We harvest the milky oats, which then make it into tea, and we sell them in our farm store. We want to give farmers an added incentive to plant these cover crops. The milky oat tea is but one small example of what we mean by a farm-driven diet or cuisine, eating what the land needs to be healthy. This type of eating is springing up in communities across the country, not just here. From Detroit to New Orleans, from Portland, Oregon to Portland, Maine, more communities are interested in this type of local farming that uses fewer resources. People are eating more of what a healthy ecosystem can provide, and food that is more nutritious and more flavorful. Good food grown well is powerful. At Stone Barn Center, we are working to encourage mindful food choices, most recently through our mobile kitchen classroom. We piloted the mobile kitchen at Bard High School Early College in Manhattan last year. Mobile Classroom is a multidisciplinary program focused on food and cooking, and this intensive semester-long program explores the history and science of food, diverse food cultures, resilient agriculture, and cooking. We do this to empower high school students to become active and engaged food citizens who will drive a new, healthy, and sustainable food culture. Now for the people behind Grown Well, farmers. We train and support people who want to farm using resilient and sustainable methods. We host apprentices on our farm, conduct technical workshops, and organize a very popular Young Farmers Conference every December. But here are some of the realities about farming that should give us all pause. All of these are taken from the most recent USDA census. The American farm population continues to age, with the average age of a farmer now at 58.3. Only 6% of American farmers are under 35. Especially concerning is the slow rate at which new farmers are entering into agriculture and the much faster rate at which older farmers are retiring from farming. Compound this with the fact that 400 million acres of farmland is slated to change hands in the next 2 decades, an area roughly equal to the size of 4 Californias. So the takeaway, our farming system is poised to undergo some dramatic changes and transitions in coming years. Farming, which has never been the easiest of occupations, is perhaps more precarious than ever before, especially for those who are not supported by billions in subsidies, the USD Ag Extension System, or the policies that have traditionally been geared toward conventional farming. So to put a real face on this, I want you to meet Chris Ann Christensen. Chris Ann, like so many of the young farmers we work with, wants to make real change through resilient community-based farming. She comes from Colorado, and after graduating from the University of Colorado, she went to pastry school, and along the way, she started farming at a friend's farm, and she really got the farming bug. So I first got to know Chris Ann when she came to Stone Barns 2 years ago as an apprentice. At the end of this year, she's going back to Colorado, where her dream is to create a regionally adapted vegetable farm and seed company to grow seeds that work well in the Rocky Mountain climate and soil. And she's totally qualified to do this. She's well educated, she's well spoken, she's resourceful, and she's been one of our all-star apprentices. But when Chris Ann goes back, she will face enormous obstacles and costs. Land costs exceed $20,000 per acre where she wants to farm. Assuming she needs 10 acres to make a go of it and some money for tools and capital costs, we're easily talking $250,000 startup. She will also face the challenges that confront any new business entrepreneur, establishing her market, her reputation, and getting her operation off the ground. So here's my question and my challenge to the group. What does a world look like in which Chris Ann can succeed, where the impediments to her ability to farm are removed? And how can an American food policy advance productive and equitable agrarian landscapes that values food grown well and allows farmers to make a good living? What if we were to make a modest start now by reprogramming 1% of the estimated $4.5 billion that the USDA will spend on commodity support programs in 2016? What if we were to dedicate that money to support beginning farmers who want to grow fruits and vegetables using resilient methods? Remember, fruits and vegetables account for half of my plate, the government's recommended dietary guidelines. Now, I know this 1% or this $45 million would take some support away from crops like corn, soy, and wheat, the giant users of the subsidies. So perhaps we'd have fewer hamburgers, less traffic, but I think we could live with that trade-off if it's a step toward a food policy that might begin to level the playing field among farmers in this country. $45 million is real money for young farmers. In the spirit of brainstorming, I'm going to throw out 4 ideas about what we could do with that 1%. So first, we could offer a federal tax credit to those beginning farmers buying or leasing land to produce food. Like many state and local tax incentives that offer 10 or 15-year real estate abatements in order to incentivize commercial or residential development or to build affordable housing, let's create a federal program that offers income or other tax credits to incentivize the creation of more small-scale, local, sustainable agriculture. Let's add, number 2, let's add farmers to the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. Like teaching and healthcare, growing food is critical to our national well-being. Farmers provide a service and should be recognized for their efforts, and this would afford them the chance to get forgiveness for their college loans. Number 3, let's fund more training opportunities for young farmers and ranchers, expanding the USDA's Beginning Farmer and Rancher Development Program and growing cooperative extension's expertise in the practice of resilient agriculture. And last, let's treat beginning farmers rising up to take the place of those about to retire farmers like the crisis that it is. When our country was in crisis in the 1930s, the Civilian Conservation Corps employed more than 3 million people who planted 1 billion trees, built roads and infrastructure, developed 800 new state parks. So inspired by the CCC, let's initiate a 21st century farm corps focused not on ecological conservation, but on farming as a means to produce healthy food and restore and regenerate soil and ecological systems. We need to change policies. We need to reallocate funding to support resilient agriculture, whether it's big, little, or in the middle. We need to eat smarter, and we need to support those whose passion, skill, and hard work brings joy, sustenance, and fulfillment into our lives. We need an American food policy today if we want to have good food to eat tomorrow. So now, before I turn the stage over to Mark Bittman, I wanted to say just a couple of words about the 5 Thought for Food segments that you'll see scattered among today and tomorrow's agenda. Stone Barns was asked to curate these short segments to illustrate the power of farmers in partnership with people, ideas, and tools that can catalyze change. So we hope you enjoy those segments. Thanks for being here and for being interested in these issues, for doing what you can to change the American farming landscape and policy for the better. Welcome.